If you do not like someone's story, write your own. Changing Narratives with Wambui Kabage.
Hi everyone, this is Wambui Kabage back again. I'd like to talk about how I do what I do. A lot of people have asked me, okay, fine, let's even say I buy into this mediation conversation. You, Wambui, what is your process? What is mediation? Okay, so here it is. Mediation, as I mentioned previously, is a process where parties come together, helped by a third party who has no interest in any of the parties' matters, but is able to facilitate a conversation and hopefully an agreement at the end regarding issues in dispute. Okay, so what happens is a couple comes to me and says, listen, I have a problem, my relationship is going to end, and really I think I want to go through a divorce. So there are two routes I usually use, and one of them is, are you sure the relationship is over? Is there a possibility for reconciliation? That to me is really important because, you know, I didn't have that opportunity to do that or even ask people that when I was in litigation, when I was a family lawyer, specifically in divorce. I pretty much took you at face value. You told me you wanted a divorce and hey, I accepted it. I was like, fine, okay, let's draft the document. The reality is most people are not ready for a divorce. They're not mentally ready, they're not emotionally ready, and they're definitely not financially ready. So the way I go about it is kind of going through a questioning phase, trying to understand, you know, what is happening. So I ask you your story and I ask you to tell me what it is that is ailing your relationship and what's happening. Part of my process, however, which I find for me is really a process that I really do love and I really do enjoy, and not necessarily all mediators practice this, but I help my clients go through a process of self-realization where they go through a number of tests, personality tests, both scientific as well as the general personality test that you would be going through. But also I help my clients go through an understanding of what their love languages are, right? So here's the thing, guys. Most people go through life not knowing what their personality is and who they are and why they do what they do. And I hope to help people understand that about themselves. Like, I'll give you an example. Some people don't even know what their personality type is. There are 4 certain types of personalities. Okay, there are many personality tests. I prefer this one, which is basically discovering which personality you are in 4 categories. That is the sanguine, the choleric, the phlegmatic, and the melancholic personality. And for me, I have found over the years that this has been so revolutionary. It has been something that has allowed me as a person to understand me as a person, but also help my clients understand who they are, right? And that's so important because then you understand certain things that are innate within you as a person that explain, why are you innately impatient? Why are you the kind of person who is generally argumentative? Why are you the type of person who's always in your head, always analyzing things, always thinking through things? Why are you the person who, when somebody asks you Chinese or Italian, you go, I don't know, I don't mind. And the reality is, the truth is really, I don't know and I don't mind, right? So all these things are really fascinating. And I tell you why they're fascinating. If you as a person understand this about yourself, imagine how it would be so incredible that your spouse would know this about you. Yeah, most people go through life not really knowing their spouse, knowing their personalities, and what that does, it really helps in terms of understanding how to engage with each other, right? And that's where the reconciliation aspect comes in, because not everybody wants to divorce because they really don't like the person. Some people divorce because they don't understand the person. Why are you doing what it is you're doing? Another aspect that I bring in is the love languages. It's so important. I cannot emphasize to you how important it is that you understand what your love language is, right? And guess what, guys? There are like 5 love languages. Oh, And as a disclaimer, I didn't come up with this. All this are in books, right? The 4 personalities have been written by lots of people, but the book that I love using is Personality Plus by Florence Littauer. So, guys, go out and get that book. It's amazing. It'll change how you view yourself and view how everything that you do. The second conversation that I had was the 5 love languages. Now, this is a concept that came about by a doctor. I believe he's a doctor in psychology. He's called Dr. Chapman. And he has a book called The 5 Love Languages. I recommend you get that too. And what it is essentially understanding how you speak. What is your love speak, right? And you go, oh, boy, like, why is that so important? Look, it's really important. And I'll tell you why it's important. In a relationship, you speak a certain love language. And if your spouse doesn't know your love language, then it doesn't matter. Okay, wait, I'll give you an example. So let's say you speak Chinese and your husband speaks Italian. Or in our Kenyan context, you speak Kalenjin and your husband speaks Maasai, right? Okay, here's the problem. It doesn't matter what kind of good words you're going to speak to each other, you're not going to understand each other, right? And that's the same as love. If your spouse speaks one set of love languages and you speak another set of love languages, guess what's going to happen? The conversation's always going to go like this. But you don't love me. I don't feel that you love me. Why? Because that person wasn't speaking your love language, right? What a revelation for a lot of couples. So there are 5 love languages, okay? There is physical touch. No brainer for that. Physical touch is basically the fact or the type of people who love to be hugged, cuddled, kissed, really any kind of physical affection. That's certain people. Yeah, they just basically, if you give them everything in the world, but you don't touch them, they're like, you don't love me, right? You could bring a Ferrari to their door and they'll be like, you don't love me, right? And so it's kind of interesting because why the guy bringing the Ferrari would think that's an expression of love is because their love language is gifts. So that's another love language, right? And so basically this guy is speaking gift language and you're speaking physical language and none of you get each other, okay? The other love language is acts of service, right? Now, acts of service is pretty simple, I have a friend who said, listen, I just, want to be fed. Just give me some good food, and iron my clothes and yeah, I'm happy. I don't need you to remember my anniversary. I don't need you to bring me a cake or nothing like that. I don't need you to even take me for a movie or do whatever. Listen, please just cook me a good meal and I feel love, okay? That's acts of service. There's another person who will be like quality time. What does that mean? That person doesn't care. They just want you to sit on the couch next to them. It doesn't matter. Are you watching a movie? Are you doing whatever? Are they just staring at you as you're typing and you're just, happy with them just being there? That's okay. That's time, that's quality time, right? They're the kind of people who'll be like, you don't love me because you're never with me. And, the person's like, what? But I'm in the house with you like all the time. No, you're not. You don't take them out for a walk. You don't take care of them in terms of time. They want your time. And the 5th one is words of affirmation. So the thing is with words of affirmation, it's pretty simple. You just basically have to affirm the goodness of what it is that person is doing. So for example, with a man, if he, he's providing very well, he's doing whatever it is, you can genuinely say he's doing really, really well. Compliment him. Acknowledge it, state it in words. The same with a woman. If she's made a beautiful meal, a wonderful meal, it's not good enough for you to go, whatever, burp and do whatever it is you're doing. No, say, oh, honey, that was amazing. Oh my goodness. Yani, what mom needs to know about how to cook this thing? Yeah, that's the biggest compliment, comparing mom's cooking with, with your cooking. So words of affirmation are a really big deal. Here's the thing, most people have two words, two love languages, right? And generally, when we do the test, and the same with personalities, people have two personalities, right? And so what happens is when couples begin to recognize, oh, this is my wife's personality, or this is my husband's personality, or this is my husband or wife's love language, it changes a lot of people. They begin to have aha moments where they realize, wow, you mean she behaves like this because that's who she is? And then the beauty with learning these personalities is you learn how to mitigate whatever negative qualities that they have, or you learn to just, accept them. And then you, as a person who knows your personality trait, you're able to now engage ways of how to reduce the negative effects of your certain personality. Okay, so for example, if for example, if somebody has a sanguine personality, sanguine is very bubbly, they love socializing, they love being in places with other people, and they've married, for example, a melancholic personality. Okay, that's an interesting challenge, because a melancholic personality tends to be very quiet, an introvert. They really don't want to socialize. But then they've been placed with a sanguine, and then all the sanguine wants to do is go out and party, be friends with people, hang out in people's houses, bring and invite everybody and their grandmother to their house. And the melancholic's like, oh my God, stab me 5 times. I don't want to see human beings around me. So if you understood, right, as a melancholic person, that your wife or your husband is a sanguine, then you understand, oh, now I know why they like human beings. So now you find ways of how to work with that personality as opposed to create friction, right? It's such an incredible revelation for a lot of people that it really has been a way of reconciling certain couples. And in fact, Dr. Chapman himself writes about how so many couples, by understanding their love languages, who were on the brink of a divorce, did not go through a divorce simply because they understood this. So that is part of the process that I do when I am going through the mediation process. But then, of course, once we go through that, and then we're able to establish the issues that are at hand and the issues that are ailing the couple, and then also the couples are able to understand their personalities, we go into a session where both parties are able to listen and hear what the issues are from me. And I'm able to give them that information and that feedback. Then the next stage that they go through is resolving the issues, issue by issue. And it all culminates in a mediation agreement, where the parties agree how they're going to resolve certain issues. Okay, and that can be, they decide they don't want to be together again, but then they've resolved on how they're going to deal with the side issues like custody, children, and all these other issues. It may also end up in, they decide, wow, we don't want to leave each other, we just want to learn how to live together, and that's now another stage. Right? But either way, at the end of the day, the mediation process has to end with a certain document which determines the way forward for the parties. So that's how my mediation process goes, and I hope you all will, at the very least, when you go through conflict, begin to consider mediation as a real way of resolving your family disputes. Like, share, and subscribe.